this is a hot button topic that people...
This is not a trendy or hot button topic. This is people's real lives. When I say braids, I'm not referring to Dutch, French, or Viking braids. Those are different cultures that have nothing to do with African American cultures.
If somebody has told you that this bothers me,
right,
the response should not be, well, it shouldn't.
Period.
I don't think anybody here is
boom,
going to say anybody
boom,
on behalf of...
period.
I don't forget that I can have this, baby. Nobody else you. Nobody else makes me. Nobody else had a clue what I could do, what I could do.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are in for a treat. I will be reacting to my episode of the Dr. Phil show. I have been really excited to make this video because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that I want to say about this episode. So this video is gonna be a lot. So before we get started, I do want to put some disclaimers out there just to protect myself legally and also protect myself from getting copyright striked or anything like that on YouTube, and just so we can cover our bases. Number one disclaimer, I will not be speaking about anything behind the scenes regarding the Dr. Phil show or anything personal or anything like that regarding the Dr. Phil show. I will simply just be reacting to the content that they decided to make public on their social media platforms and on television. I'm only going to be giving my thoughts on what I am looking at that everyone else is able to look at too. Number two, this is transformative content. This is a reaction, just like other reaction channels. I will not just be sitting here and playing the clip and just staring with my mouth open. I will be providing commentary and doing a whole bunch of stuff. Just wanted to cover all of our bases before we get started. Alrighty, let's get into it. Also, really quickly, I forgot to mention, I will also be talking about a little bit of tea that has happened since the show has aired about one of the people that was on the show as well, just trying to come for me on social media and starting drama. So if you want to know what happened with that, definitely stay tuned towards the end of the video. And yeah, now let's get into the rest of the video. So first, let me start out by just sharing with you guys super quickly how I actually got onto the show. Essentially, I had made a video talking about culture appropriation and my thoughts on why I don't think it's appropriate for a white woman to wear black cultural braided hairstyles and my reasonings behind that. And this video blew up. I think now it currently has like 1.2 million views, which I did not expect. So I'm actually gonna play my video for y'all here. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, you could just skip to when it's over, but just so y'all can have context on why they actually wanted me on the show. When I say white girls shouldn't wear braids, I'm not saying that because I just don't want you to wear my hairstyles and I just want to gatekeep everything. I'm saying that because that contributes to a bigger societal issue that a lot of people don't want to recognize. Do y'all know how many people have grown platforms and careers and lifestyles and six-figure salaries off the black aesthetic? Their lips, their butts, wearing darker makeup, tanning, wearing our hairstyles, saying our sayings, doing our mannerisms. And yet black women that naturally are like that are being discriminated against, experience racism, lose our jobs, get harassed and killed by the police. So the more white people saturate our spaces, the less likely we are to receive the credit and the fair treatment for the things that we create. Think about it. If you have a white person and a black person in the room, there's a chance that that white person could receive credit. But if there's no white person in the room, you have no choice but to give that black person the credit. So it's not just a hairstyle. It's also a respect thing. This is something that white people still have not learned throughout history. You cannot be in everyone's space. You don't have the right to be in everyone's space. You have to learn to be okay with people telling you, no, you can't have this. This is ours. You did not go through what we went through to create these things, so we do not want you to participate. So yeah, I don't care if a white girl wears braids. I care that when she does that, that contributes to an issue in society that continues to affect my life. So I'm just going to do this reaction just watching on my phone. And the first clip we're going to be reacting to is called Appropriation Nation. Is it okay for Kim Kardashian to wear cornrows? So let's see.
Kim Kardashian has definitely been accused of cultural appropriation. She has literally changed her entire aesthetic to fit black women. One of the most obvious ways is when she started wearing cornrows, which is a black cultural style. So when she wore it, people thought that this was the most trendy style they had ever seen.
Which
she
is
started
true.
being seen as the creator of that hairstyle.
Which
it's
is
really
also
not fair
true.
because black women have historically been called ghetto for having cornrows, as that is one of the staple styles in our culture.
Now, Kim Kardashian is part Armenian. Is it okay for her to wear cornrows?
I personally think that it depends on what boundaries that culture has set. So I can speak for Black culture. The reason why, some of us are offended and have problems with white women wearing braids is because it's documented. Black women are getting black jobs wearing braids. We are called ghetto. We are not seen as professional with our natural cultural hairstyles that are part of Black culture. And then when white women wear them, they are glorified, praised, and even sometimes have the credit attributed to them.
Boom.
So that discrepancy is where the issue comes into play.
Boom.
You can speak for yourself as an individual as far as whether or not you are offended by something, but you can't speak on behalf of the entire Black culture. There are plenty of Black people who watched what Kim Kardashian did and thought the braids looked absolutely fine. And again,
okay, I just want to say that she was telling me that I can't speak for the whole Black community by saying we have a problem with it, but she's speaking for the whole Black community saying that they don't have a problem with it. So I just wanted to point that out. But like I said, I feel like it was glossed over. The fact that I just said it's documented that Black women aren't okay with this. We're getting treated a certain way for it. So it's not me just making stuff up. Like, you can go look it up. Like, we have a problem with it, right? It's not just in my head. I'm the only one that has a problem with white women wearing braids. Like, when you type in cultural appropriation on any social media platform, you will see tons of videos of people of color and Black people saying, we don't like this. So I don't really understand why she, said that. But okay.
I do think imitating
Look at my
is
face.
flattery. She didn't step up and say that she's an
So, okay, just one more thing. She said that imitation is flattery. So, okay, let's say that she was getting married, right? And someone showed up to her wedding, not only in a wedding dress, but the exact same one she had on, right? Would you be flattered? She's imitating you. Would you be flattered? Blackface, right? That's imitating a Black person's skin tone. Is that flattery? No. I always find that the people that are doing the imitating always find it flattering, but the people that are being imitated never find it flattering. And we tell you that it's not flattering, and you still say it's cultural appreciation. If the culture that you're copying isn't appreciating it, it's not appreciation.
invented the hairstyle. If people attribute that to her, that's something that you do on an individual basis.
No.
I feel like it's important.
I feel like that's a societal basis. Society will start attributing it. Do y'all know how many inventions and things like that the credit has been stolen from Black people? And society has taught us that other people outside of our race have made those things. So it becomes a societal thing. It becomes stamped and marked in history that other people have done or created things that originally people of color and Black people have done. So it's not on an individual basis. They started calling those the Kim Kardashian braids. That became a trend. That's not one person doing that. That's thousands of people thinking that she made that hairstyle. So again, that's not right.
Understand the difference between imitating and actually appropriating. So imitating is you like my nails, you go do it, you copy it. Imitating, you like my shoes, or buy the same shoes. Appropriating is when you are copying something of a culture that is not yours, and it's inappropriate. You are disrespecting the boundary that culture has set.
If I copied your shoes tomorrow because I like them, would that not be appropriation?
Didn't I just tell her that? Didn't I just say that when you doing the same thing by wearing my shoes is not culture? I just, y'all tell me, did I not just say that? So she just took what I said. So that shows she wasn't listening to anything that I said, because I just said that wasn't appropriating because I have not set a boundary. Hold on, let's just hear this.
I'm not set a boundary against you about the shoes I wear. I don't face discrimination or racism because of the shoes that I wear.
So if I, as a biracial, half Black woman, go...
Okay, now. She herself says she's a biracial Black woman. So she's half Black, half white. So I feel like that's important to acknowledge, because maybe, just maybe, you might have had different experiences from me because of the fact that you're not fully Black and I am. Not saying that I'm better than you because I'm fully Black or you can't be Black, but I'm just saying you being mixed means you're going to have a different experience in life than me. You're less likely to experience a lot of things that Black women experience because you're not fully Black. That's just a fact. I'm literally sitting here telling you that I've experienced this, and you're essentially telling me that I haven't, which is kind of messed up.
to Kim Kardashian and say, you know what, that's not a boundary that I've set for you. You may wear cornrows. And I am essentially a Black person who has told her I don't have that boundary. Is it then wrong for her to wear the braids the next day?
So I just wanted to comment on her when she said that essentially she's a Black woman. I just find it funny how she picks and chooses when she wants to be Black, because on her social media platforms, if you go look at her stuff, her entire platform is very anti-black. She has said in the past that she doesn't think Black History Month should be a thing. She doesn't think that systemic racism is a thing. So she's very anti-black and very like pro like white ideologies whenever it suits her and whenever she wants to make a profit. But now, because she's trying to make a point against me, she wants to claim that she's essentially black. So I think that as a mixed woman, she has an advantage of being able to pick and choose which side she wants to do versus me, a fully black woman. I'm black all the time, and I feel like that's why my experience should have been listened more.
That comes into play.
Y'all can see I'm just frustrated, y'all. I'm like, so during this whole thing, okay, let's just pause for a second. I did not know that the show was gonna take this approach to culture appropriation. I thought that it was gonna be, you come on, we have people against it, people for it, and we just talk. We have a good, genuine conversation. Everyone's listening to each other. There's no disrespect. There's no like arguing or anything or debating. You're just talking. Everybody's getting a chance to talk and just speak. You'll see as, if you watch the episode, that's not the approach they were taking. They were taking it more so as of an approach that are we being too sensitive about this. So already like kind of undermining the fact that it's a real issue. I thought we were going to talk about why culture appropriation is an issue and how it's affecting communities and what we can do to change it and to fix it and how we can teach people what it actually is and get them to understand so they stop doing it. No, it was more so me trying to prove that an experience that I go through was an actual experience and that the things that I go through is an actual problem.
So if you do that, you're going to ignore there's countless documentation of a lot of black women being like discriminated and experiencing racism.
I'm stuttering because I'm upset.
So by doing that, you're kind of just dissing and ignoring the black women that are struggling with this issue. Especially because you have to think, Kim Kardashian has an extremely large platform. So what she does, her fans see as law and see as she can do no wrong. So if she is seen as something as being that it's okay, they're going to copy her, which will.
What are the rest of y'all things?
I didn't like how he interrupted me. I felt like, you let her talk, why couldn't I talk? She was able to complete her statement. She spoke a lot of times. I wasn't able to complete my statement. That kind of irritated me. I was slowly starting to realize that like this is not this isn't gonna work. This is not the place to talk about this topic. This conversation is not gonna go the way I want it to go. And I think that was like one of the only times I talked, but we'll see.
You guys wait. Go ahead.
I think the existence of a double standard that is unfairly being applied to black women about their hairstyles doesn't necessitate that Kim Kardashian, we need a rule that she's not allowed, that all white women are not allowed to wear this hairstyle.
So he said that he acknowledged that there was a double standard. So he acknowledged that there was racism and discrimination associated with black women wearing their hairstyles and then white women taking them and not doing them. But he's saying we shouldn't have a rule against it. As a black woman, I still shouldn't get upset about that. I shouldn't like want them to continue to be in my spaces and which is going to continue to like discriminate against me, right? And again, this is a white man and he's speaking on a culture that he's not a part of. I hate when people that aren't a black culture speak on it and tell us about our experiences and tell us what we should and shouldn't do regarding our culture. That's insane.
Like Amla said, another black woman could not be offended by that. And
black women are offended. Not every black person is offended by every single thing, but you have to acknowledge that there are a lot of black people that are offended by this. You can check my social media platforms if you don't believe me, right? So you're telling me that if 90% of the people in the black community are offended by this, but 10% aren't, we should just all let it go, right? No. Again, that's you speaking on an experience just from lack of being in a culture.
Who gets to be the one whose rules are applied to all of society?
Because you know firsthand.
We can decide, it's our culture, so we can decide how we want to present it to society. You don't have a say in that because you're not a part of black culture. You see what I'm saying?
What it's like to be called out, threatened, and abused online for appropriating another culture. What happened?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like I already know what she's gonna say. So basically, I don't want to like react to that. Just because it's too long. But basically, she went to prom and she was wearing I believe a Japanese or Chinese. I don't remember. She got attacked for culture appropriating, and they basically made the point on the show that like it was people that weren't even a part of the culture that were attacking her for culture appropriation. And like, I mean, personally for me, that had nothing to do with black people, so that's why I didn't speak or say anything about it. I feel like people like try to say, well, people in this culture don't care, so you like, okay, that's their culture. Asian culture has nothing to do with me. I'm black. Just because someone in Asian culture, in the Asian community is not offended by something doesn't mean that every culture shouldn't be offended by it. They have a different history than black people. So they're trying to like put all minorities in a box and say like y'all all should just be okay since some cultures are okay. You have to think that every culture has a different history and different experiences, which is why they may feel certain ways about some things or be offended by some things. It's just, I feel like there's just not a lot of education going on. So that's it for that clip. So we're gonna go on to the next clip. This is where the professor is speaking. This one's called "Appropriation Nation Has Gone Too Far," and this was the title of the episode. And again, this is just how I know like their approach to culture appropriation was completely different than what I expected, because I was thinking the title was gonna be something like "Culture Appropriation. What is it? Let's learn about it. Let's be educated. Are people not respecting culture?" Like something like that. But they're saying it hasn't gone too far. That's already indicative of them mainly just trying to show that we're being too sensitive about it. So, okay. Next
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, cultural appropriation.
I got called all sorts of names for wearing the dress.
You actually got death threats. You were called out for appropriating an anime character.
I was told that I was black.
I just find it very frustrating how like I wish they could have brought someone on the show on the opposite side that has experienced culture appropriation, as far as getting like if they had a black woman come on the show and talk about how she was fired from her job, right? Or if they had the copious amount of athletes, pick one that, or like they could have got that young man in high school that had to cut his dreads, that viral video, cut his dreads to like do a wrestling match. They could have got him on the show. I feel like that would have been like more of like a balanced perspective. Because in case y'all didn't know, there was like, you'll see it when you watch the episode, they had 5 people on the opposing side and only 3 of us, and like I feel like the opposite side was very diverse, and then our side was just like people of color, even though I can name like a bunch of white people that agree that culture appropriation is an issue and would have loved to come on the show and, you know, share why. So I feel like it was just a little misbalanced. One of their bigger arguments about culture appropriation, us being too sensitive about it, was because of just the way these 2 women were attacked like viciously on social media by people that weren't even of the culture that they accused them of appropriating. But I wish I would have had the opportunity to talk about how it also happens on my side. Like I've been called N-words and monkeys and told to unalive myself, and I've received a lot of hateful things, like in private messages, on comments. Like there have been like 2 culture appropriation videos that I posted on YouTube. I had to turn the comments off. I was just like, I'm not about to give y'all the space on my platform that I worked hard to grow for you to come on there and just openly disrespect me. I wish I would have had the chance to explain that like, the internet bullying and harassing has gone both ways. That doesn't negate the fact that culture appropriation is an issue. Like people go to the extremes on each side, and that's with every single issue, not just culture appropriation. That doesn't mean that just because someone is being an internet bullying, that the experiences that black women have had regarding our hairstyles and our features shouldn't be acknowledged, you know?
And non-Japanese.
I think imitation is a form of flattery.
If somebody wears
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit.
What was it?
Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about his.
Out of fear of being accused of appropriation. Here,
I'm gonna
all
go back over.
celebrities who have been called out, criticized, and condemned for cultural appropriation. Has anyone here ever called someone out for cultural appropriation? You too? You have? You have? Has anybody here ever thought twice about wearing something or doing something, even cooking something, out of fear of being accused of appropriation? You have?
Yes.
Yeah, what was it?
My daughter had braids and she wanted me to get braids that were just like hers.
Why her but not you?
She's half black and half white.
Okay.
And so I just think that some things should stick with those cultures.
Well, no matter whether you believe it's harmful or you think people...
So let me just talk about this really quick. He was saying how like, I think the way he said that was more so to present the idea that people are being too sensitive by stating that have you had to think twice about, you know, wearing something or even cooking something. Like we're doing too much because people shouldn't have to overthink about stuff in order to figure out their culture appropriating. If you experience racism and discrimination on the daily, like you automatically have that mindset no matter what you do, because you have that disrespect like being at you all the time, and you don't want to do that to someone else. So that's always like, for me, it's always natural for me to like think, am I disrespecting another culture, another race? I don't want to put them through what I'm experiencing. So I think that's just a natural thing for me. And I feel like when it comes to white people, a lot of the times they don't experience racism, discrimination, having things separated and taken from them, so they don't think twice about doing it to other people. And sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it to other people, and when we tell you are, you don't agree because you don't get it. So I think that that's not really an over dramatic thing to just think about how what you're doing can affect someone else, or simply just looking up something that you're doing and making sure that you're not taking the credit from someone else. And that's just human decency, to like make sure that whatever you're doing in your life, you're not disrespecting someone. So if you just go through our life not caring about how other cultures feel about things and how people might view things as far as like in a respect aspect, then that's wrong. I feel like that's a normal thing to think about, especially if you're a minority. That's just your normal thought process. So I don't think that's something over dramatic. I just think that's something recently white people have been kind of forced to do, and they don't like it.
Should just be allowed to do what they want. There is no doubt this is a hot button topic that people...
This is not a trendy or hot button topic. This is people's real lives. I feel like people think we just made this up out of nowhere. It's been happening for years. It just now we got into a place in society where we're speaking up about it because it's just gone too far. So it's always been there. It's not hot or trending. It's nothing like that. This isn't a trend. This is me being able to go to an interview and not worry that I won't get it, not because I'm not qualified or don't have the credentials, but because of my hair, because I may speak too much in my black scent. It's a real life.
People are passionate about. Dr. Neil Lester, a professor of English at Arizona State University, right?
Yes.
And you've published, lectured, and taught extensively the area of African American studies. What do you think about appropriation? Do you think this is
why do I look like that?
People need to be cognizant of, and if so, why?
Absolutely.
Hope my battery doesn't die.
Well, because if we in fact are trying to look at the humanity of other people, and we're trying to live in a place where we are trying to be respectful and mindful of folks, then we need to be aware of things that are important to other cultures that don't necessarily look like us or share the same values.
And that right there is the problem. It's not that hard to respect the culture or be aware that something that you're doing of another culture may be disrespectful to them, and so maybe just not doing it. If this were the case, culture appropriation wouldn't be a thing, because we would all be treated equally for everything of every culture, no matter who you are. But that's not the case. So
it is a thing, and people need to be aware of it.
Can
Right.
anybody appropriate?
Anybody can appropriate, yes.
Not just white people.
Absolutely. Appropriation is intersectional. So old people can appropriate youth culture. Youth culture can appropriate old folks. People who are not incarcerated can impersonate, prisoners or those who are incarcerated. Men appropriate women's attire for the sake of funny and mocking. So absolutely anybody can do it, and everybody on some level.
thank you whoever just ordered.
Flirted with it.
Okay, but a lot of the time that people that I've seen are called out for this, it's not that they were making fun or mocking in some way. It was just that they had adopted a fashion or a style or whatever.
I would say that's a
Right, like that's not a good thing. Like it doesn't matter whether they're trying to do it to mock or they're just doing it because it's trendy. Like intention doesn't always equal impact. Like it's the fact that it takes for example, for black culture, it takes a non-black woman to make a style trendy and make it fashionable and make it unique. And the people of that culture are still not treated like that. That's the problem.
performance. So if
Right.
somebody's culture and somebody's identity becomes a performance, then it's reductive.
Right,
So if
absolutely.
you're reducing, for example, say the civil rights movement to an afro, and you wear that, or you wear dreadlock wigs, that Rastafarians may wear, you do that because it's edgy, because it's cool.
Yo, what am my face? I'm sorry.
Getting some kind of cultural capital from that by doing it.
And who's hurt by that?
Well, it's not a matter of who's hurt by it; it's who's being disrespected by it.
Well, who's being disrespected?
Respected
A whole
hurt.
culture of people whose identities are wrapped in whatever you're dressing into and,
Right.
and take off.
Right.
Amala, you don't agree.
I don't.
Hold on, before we get to Amala, and y'all know there's some tea associated with her again, so we gonna share that after we finish reacting. So I want to talk about how he was saying Also, a big reason why cultural appropriation is an issue is because they're profiting off of it. Like I talked about, I didn't get a chance to talk about blackfishing, and I really wanted to, but I didn't get a chance. Like you have these white influencers that are adopting a black aesthetic, and they are profiting off of pretending to be a black woman. And me as a black woman, I can't do that just by being myself. Like, why is it fair for me to experience discrimination and racism for how I naturally look, and then a white person literally adopt my entire look, and she can grow followers and attention and platforms and modeling gigs and all this type of stuff? That's not right. I feel like people don't understand. It's not about the thing. It's about the treatment behind the thing. It's not about the braids. It's about the treatment behind the braids. I wouldn't care if you wore braids as a white person or a non-black person if I was treated the same as you for the style that is a part of my culture. Hold on, let me clarify. When I say braids, I'm not referring to Dutch, French, or Viking braids. Those are different cultures that have nothing to do with African American cultures. And those braided hairstyles do not look anything like African American braided styles. When I say braids, I'm referring to knotless, box, cornrows, those types of hairstyles. You know, the ones that we're actually seeing plastered all over social media. Because you know that Kim K ain't go viral for no Dutch or French braid, right? She went viral for an African American hairstyle. So I just want to clarify that. Okay, trying to make it before the battery dies.
And who's hurt by that?
Well,
Let me go back.
Nearly hundreds of ways that don't,
Okay.
Well, who's being disrespected by it?
a whole culture.
Not only is it somewhat a waste of time, but it's nearly impossible. You just mentioned there are nearly hundreds of ways that one could appropriate somebody else's culture or their livelihood, and to expect.
I love how she told us it's a waste of time. That's so disrespectful. You're telling black women that their experiences and their struggles, them speaking up on them, is a waste of time. I'm wasting my time by speaking up about something that I struggle with as a black woman in America. That's a waste of time. Said by another black woman in America. That's crazy, y'all.
Any one human being to keep on top of that throughout their entire life, I think, is an unrealistic ask. And I think imitation is a form.
It's unrealistic because you don't have to deal with it on your daily life. It may seem unrealistic and dramatic to someone that hasn't had to experience the things we experience. Again, that's why I said it's just a natural mindset for people of color to be cognizant and aware of other cultures and respecting those things. All right, we're back. I had to take a super short break because my camera died, so let's hop back into the reaction.
Flattery. I appreciate my food by eating it. I appreciate the hair that I wear by wearing it, by putting on the clothes that I wear. And every single item around us
Look at his face.
could probably be attributed to a certain culture.
Okay. So I feel like her response is really just rooted in the fact that she doesn't understand what cultural appropriation is at all. She does not understand the definition of this. I feel like people are so defensive about it because they don't know what it is. A lot of people think that it's simply like a culture getting offended because you're doing something that they invented. For example, this couch, right? If a white person made this couch and I bought it as a black person, I used it, I'm culture appropriating white culture. Or if this setting spray right here is made by a black person and a white person used as culture appropriation. No. Culture appropriation, like I stated in the video, culture appropriation is not you simply just doing something of a different culture. I know a lot of people like to act like black people gatekeep a whole bunch of stuff, and yet we don't care if you make soul food. We don't care if you listen to our music. We don't care if you watch our shows. We don't gatekeep a lot of parts of our culture. But culture appropriation is when, like I said in the show, when a culture has set a boundary on something they don't want you to do because of the treatment that they face for that thing. It's not as simple as, anything that you do in life can be attributed to a culture. It's when a black person says, hey, look, I don't want you wearing my cultural hairstyle because I'm facing racism and discrimination for it, and yet you can turn around and profit off of it. I don't want you literally looking like me and blackfishing not because I'm jealous and think you can pull it off better than me, not because I think you can use black scent better than me, but because you're able to profit off of pretending to be me, and at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you can take all that off. Versus me, this is how I naturally am. This is how I wake up every day. This is how I go to sleep every day. This is how I will die. This is how I was born. So I can't take it off and remove it whenever I can. And you don't have to take the treatment that comes from wearing makeup that is 50 shades darker than your skin tone. You don't have to, you wipe that off at the end of the day. I stay in my melanin. I stay in my black skin. I stay in it. And I have to deal with what comes with it. I have to deal with the treatment and the racism and discrimination surrounded by all the things that we are saying specifically in our culture we don't want you to participate in for those reasonings.
We have to constantly worry about what culture we gain things from.
Does intention have anything to do with it?
I guess.
And I also want to point out, people know what they're doing. People know, like the people that are profiting off of other cultures know exactly what they're doing. It's not like someone accidentally wore something, all of a sudden they're rich and famous. No, Kim Kardashian knows what she's doing. Ariana Grande knew what she was doing. All these artists know what they're doing when they're trying to look like black women, trying to look like other women of color, taking trends and calling it sticky bangs, even though it's edges, or clean girl aesthetic, even though it's literally what black and Hispanic women have been doing forever. They know what they're doing. So let's not act like, oh, it's just accidental. They know what they're doing. They know exactly how to profit off of other cultures. It's not something new, and it's not something that just, oh, my bad. No, people know what they're doing.
I didn't hear anything about anybody worrying about it. What I hear about when I think about and talk about cultural appropriation is people becoming more aware of it. We could say the same thing about racism, sexism, homophobia. Just because you can't solve it and don't see it at every corner doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware of it and trying to address it.
Do you really put those on the same level?
Hold on.
Absolutely.
Racism and sexism, you put it on the same level as cultural appropriation.
That's exactly.
So if somebody wears their hair like you're wearing it, you put that on the same level as racism.
Absolutely.
Okay, I feel like that question was worded completely wrong. Number one, it's not about whether they're on the same level. It's about cultural appropriation being an effect of racism. It's an effect. Because of racism, because of the history that our country was built on, because of how black people have always historically been treated. In regards to non-black people, the difference in how we've been treated, it's an effect of racism. If people weren't racist, if racism never existed, cultural appropriation wouldn't be an issue because it wouldn't be that difficult to respect the culture. It wouldn't be that difficult to treat people equally for the things, even if you're not of that culture. Like, it wouldn't be that difficult. And I feel like when he was saying, so you're telling me if someone wears your hair like yours and they're not black, you put them on the same level as racism. I feel like that's not really a fair way to word that question. I feel like it's more so you're actively wearing the hairstyle knowing that the black community is actually not to, knowing that they find it disrespectful, knowing that they find it offensive, you're still wearing it. That's the problem.
That's why I started by saying this is about humanity or the lack of humanity. When we're putting on someone else's culture, that is somebody else's identity. So when you're talking about being worried about stuff, I'm talking about this in the context of power and history.
Right.
Brittany, right?
That's
do you
me.
think black people appropriate?
I think it's possible for black people to.
First of all, I don't like how they asked me that question because I feel like that question had the intention behind it of trying to emphasize that, like, we're, I guess, the people that are the most upset about cultural appropriation, black people, and trying to make, like, kind of negate the fact that we deal with it by saying we can also appropriate people. I feel like it kind of takes away from the point, like, it's an issue in the black community by trying to say, well, y'all do the same thing that y'all are getting upset with people for. I feel like that's how that question was intended for me to answer, but thankfully I didn't.
Appropriate different culture just because black culture is the only culture that exists.
Right.
And every culture has their own boundaries or things that they find
Boom, boom,
offensive
boom.
and things they want other cultures to respect.
How many of y'all agree with the?
I feel like I already reacted to this, so let me speed up.
That's what I challenge. And that's why age becomes part of this. That's why gender
I'm gonna
becomes
skip
part
this
of this.
because I'm gonna go to when he talks about the
That's-
audience.
Cultural society.
That's funny. That's cultural appropriation.
Okay, I'm just gonna skip
That's
the rest of what he
blocking women, and we
said.
make lots of money doing that.
Okay, what do you guys think?
He's talking to the audience.
Yes, ma'am.
In a multicultural.
I just want to point out that I'm speaking exactly what y'all are seeing. Whenever he addresses the audience, he always looks to the left because that was the side that was against us. He never once, when he, in the show, you will see, literally, whenever he asks the audience a question, this is all what you're seeing that they put on TV. He never looked to the right when asking the audience a question. The right, which is the people like on our side, right? He never asked the audience on the right their opinion. He always looked to the left, which made it more likely for someone on the left who was against it to speak up than someone on the right, because Dr. Phil didn't even like look at their side, in my opinion. And again, like the whole thing was very disproportionate because you had people in the audience on their side that were speaking. You had 3 people sitting in front of us that were speaking, 2 people that got to come on about their experience speaking, and 2 white people that you will see later on, 2 white men that were zoomed in. So it was like literally like 8, 9 people on one side, and it was just 3 of us. No one on our side spoke in the audience. We didn't have people coming on about their experiences with cultural appropriation. We didn't have people zoomed in talking about it. We didn't have white people on our side. So it was, I just feel like it was very, just basically I felt like it was more so like we were there just to, so it wouldn't openly be seen as biased. But I just feel like the way everything was guided, it just seemed very disproportionate.
Society, I don't think that the boundaries between cultures are that rigid.
That's incorrect. People think that because people don't respect the boundaries, so of course they're not gonna think that they're rigid. Black people have clearly set boundaries. Y'all just don't respect the boundaries, and so you don't think they're rigid. But it's clear. Just because you refuse to acknowledge that cultures have a problem with certain things, the boundaries are there.
I think they're somewhat fluid. And
Nope.
so, at the end of the day, we're talking about hairstyles. We're talking about clothing.
We're not talking about hairstyles. We're not talking about clothing. We're talking about the historical meaning behind hairstyles and clothing. Like I said, it's not just a hairstyle. It's not just clothing. It's the history behind those things. It's the treatment behind those things. It's not as simple as you just putting braids in your hair and going about. It's the fact, again, that a black woman faces racism and discrimination for the hairstyles of her culture, and then a non-black woman can go and wear those styles and benefit and profit and be glorified and get attention and get followers and get social media platforms. That's what it's about. I feel like this person, it's a shame this is coming from an older black woman, and maybe just because like the generational gap, she's oversimplifying an issue instead of choosing to understand it, which is extremely frustrating.
There's so many bigger fish to fry.
I also hate when people say this. I think that's so disrespectful and very selfish to act like because you don't face an issue and it's not a big deal to you, it shouldn't be a big deal to other people. And we should just get over it and move on, right? Why can't two issues be a big deal at the same time? Like, for example, do you think that it's bigger fish to fry for black women that are getting fired, or for teenagers that can't work at McDonald's or Wendy's because their hair is not professional? You think it's a bigger fish to fry for the parent that sent their black child to school and the white teacher took her hair out of her head, took her braids down, and she came back with all her hair undone because she thought her hairstyle was inappropriate? Do you think that they would find it as bigger fish to fry? No, I feel like we need, again, that's human decency to understand that you may not experience this, but it's a big deal to the people that are going through it. So why can't you just say, I don't get it, and so I'm going to stay in my place, right? You choose to speak on an issue or of an experience that people are telling you they have had, but because you haven't had it, you're going to dismiss it. That's ignorant.
We have this grievance culture. Everybody has a grievance about something.
A grievance? I have a grievance because of the history of my people. I'm just whining because of the slavery and segregation and Jim Crow laws that my people and my ancestors have experienced and now affect me today. The after effects of those things I still deal with, but I have a grievance. It's just I'm being sensitive about it. I think this is just a generational gap, honestly.
And, I just think that it's really not that big of an issue.
Again, you are telling black women that have told you that they have experienced it that it's not a big deal. How insensitive and disrespectful can you be?
How many of you agree with that?
Everybody in the audience.
Okay.
Can we just acknowledge that most of the people that raised their hands were white?
Most of you do? Yes, sir.
It seems to be an American issue.
Boom! Let's talk about that. So everybody likes to say it seems to be an American issue. So what? So because it doesn't happen in your country, again, that means it's not an issue. Like, why are people so desensitized towards other people's struggles and issues? Like, it's not that hard to just be like, I don't get it because I don't live there and I'm not that race, so let me just stay in my lane. But no, you feel the need to come and speak on something that, like, I've had people stitch my video on TikTok that are from different countries saying you making it a big deal. I'm like, ma'am, you're speaking on an issue. Number one, you're not black. And number two, you don't even live in America. So who are you to tell me that what I experience here isn't a big deal? That's what's insane to me. People act like they don't understand why this may be a big issue in America. Think about the history of America. Think about what this country has been founded on. Think about the things and the struggles that this country has faced to be built. Think about the hurt and the trauma and the abuse that black people and people of color have experienced. Trail of Tears, slavery, like all those things. Maybe that's why, again, like I said earlier, it's an effect of racism. It's an effect of the history. We still have things that we have to deal with because of what happened in the past that still affect us today. Like, those things don't just disappear just because a new year happened. That trauma, that abuse, those mindsets from both sides, people being racist and not being racist, like those people still think like that today. Why do you think Trump got elected? People still think like that today. And it's still projected. It's still projected in actions towards other people. Maybe respect the fact that different countries are going to have different issues that are specific to that country because of what they specifically deal with there and the history behind that specific country. That's very ignorant to think that just because it's only happening in one country, which it's not. I think that that's very ignorant just to say because it only happens in America, it shouldn't be an issue. No, if it only happens in America, that's great, but that doesn't mean it's still not happening. That doesn't mean it's still not an issue. It doesn't mean that the people that live there aren't dealing with it. We wouldn't speak up on it if it wasn't an issue. Like,
you can speak for yourself as an individual as far as whether or not you are offended by something, but you can't.
Okay, so this was her response to me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this because we already reacted to this. Okay, so that's it for the second clip. So we're gonna do one more clip and then we're gonna go into the drama that happened after the show aired.
There is a fine line.
This is my girl Angela, period.
Appropriation as it relates to food. Specifically with TikTok creators sharing recipes from different cultures, I think it's important to give credit where credit is due. The problem is repackaging them and making them seem like they never existed in the first place.
So raise your hand if you've ever eaten Mexican food cooked by an American.
Again, I feel like his questions are setting it up to make it sound like it's being insensitive. Like, it's not about you just cooking something that is from a different culture. It's about you making something that is from a culture, changing the name, and acting like you made it and created it. Because then it becomes erasure. You're, like, erasing that part of history from that culture.
Or sushi by someone who isn't Japanese.
I'm allergic to sushi, so I'm going to raise my hand.
Is that appropriation? No?
Again, he's oversimplifying it. Like, that's not what she said at all. She literally said in the thing, she said that it's when they take it and they change it and repackage it to something else, which means you're dismissing the culture that created it.
Angela, you say not only is food being appropriated, but it needs to stop. Tell me what you mean.
So when it comes to food, it's not necessarily that people of another culture can't enjoy other people's cuisines.
Right.
That's not the point I'm making in terms of cultural appropriation.
Absolutely, because that's
what
not
I'm saying
what it
is
means.
the idea of profiting off of that. So like I mentioned, TikTok creators, for example. I recently wrote an article. I'm a food writer for a website called The Takeout. I wrote an article about TikTok creators sharing a specific drink called, well, they called it spa water, but it's actually agua fresca, which is something that comes from Mexican culture, Latino culture. It's a drink that is water, sugar, and like blended fruits and vegetables. So the issue there is that white creators on TikTok are sharing this particular drink. They're profiting off of it in the sense of they're gaining attention from it, they're gaining views, and they're also giving it a new name. This drink already existed, it's part of a culture. I feel like it's very simple to give credit where credit's due.
Period.
And compensation.
Period. That's all it is. It's like just respecting cultures. That's all it's about. Do you know how many large fashion companies have stolen designs from small black creators? Like I said, the clean girl aesthetic with the brown lip liner. Someone, Haley Bailey, something like that. She took the whole concept, called it something else, and now it's a thing. Kim Kardashian, what I was saying before, she's wearing this hairstyle, and people are calling it the Kim K braids or something like that. Like, you're not attributing it to black people. We're not getting that credit. It's called erasure. You're erasing again. 50 years later, you go look it up, who created cornrows, you're gonna see Kim Kardashian's name. You're not going to see that black people created cornrows as a way to braid rice and food into our hairs when escaping from slavery, so that we would be able to nourish ourselves. Like, that stuff isn't going to be seen.
And compensation to who?
Well, for one thing, let's think about Jack Daniels and the enslaved person that created that recipe. It would be nice to let his family benefit from that,
Boom.
rather than having Jack Daniels' family become millionaires.
That's
They
true.
would have to track down the creator of Agua Fresca,
Why?
hope that they still have family alive, and give them some of the money they've made off the TikToks they created.
Yes, sis, exactly. So you're telling me that you know somebody else created this, and yet you took it, and now you're gonna profit off it, and you don't even think, and like, y'all acting like that's such a big deal for all these millionaires. Jack Daniels could easily go and track down the family of the person that originally created that drink and give them a percentage. That's the least he can do. That's not a big deal for them. They're rich. It's not a big deal, and like, that's just insane. You act like that's a problem. That's asking too much to give the creator the credit for what they did. The money you're receiving off of their invention, maybe giving some of that money to them since you never made it. You stole it. Like that, you act like that's a hard thing to do. That's crazy.
I think it's specifically that. It's not, I'm at least me personally.
You don't think they need to be compensated?
I'm saying that.
Shut up. I'm sorry. God forgive me. But like, she's just talking. Like, shut up. Let her talk. You talked this entire show. Now you interrupted her. Let her talk. Angela only got to speak once. She only spoke that one time. Can you let her talk? You let the girl finish.
On TikTok in this particular sense, because social media plays a role in it. That's how things are shared nowadays. If this particular white creator is gaining, 2 million views from their recipe of spa water, knowing that it comes from a specific culture,
Right.
I just think that's not right.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why.
That's not right.
can't be acknowledged. She could have done her research. I mean, I know
So
she did.
anytime we cook something, we need to research everything about
I
it.
think when you share it online, you have a responsibility. Yes.
Period.
And if you're claiming it, it's yours. That's why when people create things, they do research to see what else is out there. You can only
Again, exactly. That's a natural human decency mindset that if you're gonna post something and create something, then at least acknowledge that you're not the original creator. Like people on TikTok, there been a thing where like these white people come up with dances and then they really came from a black creator and they're like, okay, so you didn't know when you posted it, but now you posted it, people are telling you that you didn't create this, someone else created it. The least you can do is tag the person in the video. Like it's not that difficult.
go so far to say I didn't know. But once you know, you can't unknow that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So there has to be credit. And we're not necessarily talking about there has to be reparations. We're talking about respect and humanity for somebody from whom you've stolen. Cultural appropriation is not criminal, but it is ethical.
Right.
But you don't have a right to make a decision about what is ethical. And once you know, you can't unknow that, Dr. Phil.
One of the things that bothers me is when I see this happen on the internet. I mean, they just attack them.
And again, the attacking goes both ways. I told y'all earlier, I've been attacked as a black woman on TikTok for like months over this issue. So people attack both ways. That doesn't negate the fact that an issue is an issue. And I feel like this is like diminishing the whole point of what we're saying.
And I mean, they really go after them.
Like people really went after me, and it doesn't help.
Coming from anger is an expression of something.
Hurt,
so where
fear,
might that
frustration.
exactly? And if we talk about this, and that's what seems to be missing again from the conversation, is where's the history of this? And all of this is about education.
Period.
All of
But
this
people
is
don't
about
want to
education.
listen.
But I would like to think that each person here is a lifelong learner. And once you know this, you can't unknow this. So this is not about, which is what was brought up earlier about how are you supposed to know this? And nobody's trying to ask anybody to know everything. In fact, that's why we're still learning this. But if somebody has told you that this bothers me, the response should not be, well, it shouldn't.
Period.
I don't think anybody here is
Boom.
going to say anybody
Boom.
is on behalf of
Period.
what I'm saying is that we can educate it and learn
Period.
about what we are talking about so that we don't do it again.
Period.
Do you have a story?
So that was all 3 clips that were on the Dr. Phil show. Again, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the full episode, so I'm not sure what else they put. I was honestly really disappointed with how the show went. And I don't think that's necessarily the show's fault. I think that's my fault. At the end of the day, I think I didn't take into account that this is a white platform. I was just so excited to go on TV, my first opportunity, like really big opportunity as an influencer, because y'all know, again, I've only been doing it, influencing full-time for like 2 or 3 months, so I was super excited. But y'all, this is a white platform. The entire discussion was based on a white perspective, which is that, number one, an inaccurate definition of cultural appropriation, which, again, it's just like, oh, you do something in a different culture, that's offensive, which that's not what it is. And also the idea that people are just being overly sensitive, right? What can you expect? I feel like if this was talked about on a different platform, I definitely feel like it would have gotten a completely different response, reached a different type of audience. Okay, so now just really quick, the last few minutes of the video, I do want to talk about the drama that was associated with the show. The young lady that was on the show with me, her name was Amala. She decided to stitch my video, the one I showed you earlier, stitch it on TikTok and try to call me out. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really watch her whole video because once I just saw her talking, I just knew it was going to be a bunch of like BS, not gonna lie. So I didn't make a response, and I will leave the link to my TikTok in my description if you want to go check out like my video. But I'm not even gonna show her video. I'm not even gonna show her act because she's not getting no more clout or attention off of me, because she really got like almost $500,000, maybe like 400K off of using my name. Okay, just a quick update on the situation, because some more stuff did kind of pop off after I finished filming. But Miss Amala's video reached 1.2 million views in just a couple of days. Of course, you know, because she stitched my video, my face, my name, my clout, all that type of stuff. So that's why her video blew up, because none of her other TikTok videos have even close to those views on the regular. So I guess you're welcome for that. But she also decided to post that same video on all of her social media platforms, as well as, I think like 2 days ago, she posted the Dr. Phil clip of me and her talking about Kim Kardashian. And this clip as well was posted on all of her social media platforms. So that's 2 videos with my face, my name in them, that she has posted to all of her social media platforms. I'm assuming to get clout off of me, my face, my name. I just am kind of like weirded out as to like why she keeps like putting my name in her mouth and using my face and what I'm saying to promote herself. Like, it's giving very much obsessed, and it's kind of creeping me out a little bit. But like I said, I'm not going to give her any more attention, especially with the type of following she has, which will come over to my platforms, take it over, and literally bully me instead of wanting to be educated and listen. So I'm not even playing with that. But yeah, that's just a little update. I only talked with her like directly on the show like one time. We only had one interaction, as you saw. She talked way more with the professor and with other people. So the fact that she decided to target me must mean that like something I said really made her mad. But you know, I'm a grown woman, so like once I left the show, I left the show. I didn't feel the need. I didn't even know what her social media was until she added me in her video. I didn't look her up. I didn't do none of that. I like moved on with my life because you know I have a business to run, a 6-figure business to run. I have platforms, social media platforms to grow and followings to get, and so I was moved on, right? Basically, in my response, I just basically told her, I'm not about to argue with you.
I want you to wear my hairstyle. Whenever I see people going off about cultural appropriation like this, I have one thing to say, and that is cultures are not owned.
So me and this woman were on the Dr. Phil show together.
So that discrepancy is where the issue comes into play.
If I could respond to that, I think you can speak for yourself.
Me being a grown woman, once I left the show, I left the show. But apparently she felt the need to stitch my video and call me out because today is the day that the episode aired. One thing I'm not going to do on this app is argue with another black woman, especially on this topic. Y'all, this woman does not believe that systemic racism exists. So there's no point in me saying anything in response. I will say one thing though. She herself has said she's a biracial woman. And I believe her experiences have been more so on the opposite side, which is probably why she feels the way she feels. I'm just gonna say I'm a black woman. I speak on stuff that I've been through, that I lived through. Sis, there are a lot of people in your community that have had horrible experiences with culture appropriation. If you don't want to acknowledge that, that's fine. If you want to continue to think that we're all equal, that's fine. But I'm not about to fight with you. I'm tired. Like, you win, sis. I'm so happy I had that much of an impact on you, sweetheart. But I'm not going to entertain you. I'm not gonna give you more attention or time of day. So that's really it for this video. I just wanted to react, and really I just wanted to give myself a chance to speak. I don't regret going on the show. I think the entire show in and of itself was a great experience. I really like being on set and just seeing the different stuff like that. And I'm really excited to see what doors it's going to open for me and the exposure that I'm going to get for it. And again, I said what I said. I meant what I said. I don't stand down. I'm not backing down for what I believe in. This is my life as a black woman. This is not a sensitivity that I have. This is not over dramatic attitude that I have. This is something that me and a lot of black women struggle with. Not just black women, black people in general struggle with, based on the history of a lot of things in our country. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments about anything I said or anything else I didn't talk about, definitely leave them in the comments below. I will be looking and responding and interacting with these comments, especially on this video, because I am so curious to see what you guys have to say, your thoughts on the episode, all that great stuff. Yeah, make sure you follow me on my other social medias. If this is your first time seeing me, I do mainly natural hair and lifestyle content, so this is not my regular content. Also, you know, of course, check out my hair care line if you're interested in buying some products from me. Coming out with a couple new products this month, and you don't want to miss it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support and all your love, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Tell me what you see in me.